Please make yourselves comfortable. Yeah.
Hello. So what?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is it all hearable? Not too loud.
So welcome everybody. My name's Chu, if you don't know me. I'm coordinating this evening's programme. We've got a couple of staff here. So Elliot, Lou, David here at the back. If you need any help or anything during the weekend or the evening, please feel free to come and find one of us. Okay. So I'm very, very excited to introduce my teacher, Lama Lena. I'm so glad that she accepted our offer to come and teach here. So I'm sure she doesn't need much introduction, but for those of you who don't know who Lama Lena is, she's a teacher of direct mind perception, Dzogchen and Mahamudra, and a lineage holder of several Tibetan lineages. In 1972, Lama Lena spent 3 years studying with Lama Yeshe Tupten Yeshe at his monastery in Nepal. She then spent 7 years in retreat and practice in a small cave above Sopema under the tutelage of her root teacher, Venerable Wangdor Rinpoche. From then on, she continued to travel extensively with him as his main translator and assistant at the request of Ziga Choktrul Rinpoche and Venerable Wangdor Rinpoche, as well as many Western and Tibetan Dharma students. Lama Lena has been traveling, teaching and translating from lineage that she holds. So we've got this evening's teaching. We're very blessed to have her this evening, and then she's teaching twice tomorrow and then again on Sunday. So I'll hand you over to Lama Lena.
Thank you. And it looks like the voice is destructed. Check your sound system on the broadcast. Comments coming in from the gang out there, the translators. I think this is going out in a few languages over the internet. I'm not sure which ones this time. The which? The YouTube. Yeah, check that one. Okay, it is good. Okay, let's see what they say. Oh, here's a translator that forgot. I guess it's not going to be in Spanish. Oh, well. It's hard to keep track of me. I find it hard. I wake up in the morning and I look at my calendar to see where I am and what I'm supposed to be doing there. It changes often enough that I don't even try to keep track of it. So I'm here. Hi. There's a lot of new faces. A lot of you, well, I've seen some old faces, but I see a lot of you that I haven't seen before. Be welcome. The first thing I usually do is, well, the first thing we do before any Dharma practice, refuge and bodhisattva. So those two combine as Guru Yoga. One takes refuge in all Buddhas of the 3 times, which arise from all sentient beings of the 3 realms. Beyond the time-space continuum, in the actual reality of things as they are, there's no difference between the Buddhas and the beings. Same stuff, not stuff, makes them up. The only difference is Buddhas know it, and y'all don't. Or do you? Maybe you do. Chuku kundu zongpo guampo yi. Dorji sempa garab dorji dang. Shere singe bardu shin labde. Dedam abzan tata tu sum chi. Zog chen jupe lama la sola wa de. Ergin pema junela sola wa de. Dorji chang titela narudang. Marpa mila gompo tatapa. Na pupadang palden drupa so Kagyu lama namla solo de O chen lama namla solo de Drujen lama namla solo de Kagyu ari lama namla solo de Shakalamanamla solo de Yendu Danyundra Lamanamla solo de Palpandu Dangye Vandara Pujindra Jetidang Sume Pai Palamanam Jekante Chong. Isn't electronics marvelous? I can carry so many texts with me. Before, it was an entire suitcase full of them. And now, a little tiny iPad with hundreds. This is a Mahamudra text called The Swift Way by embodiment of all sources of refuge, noble Guru. Inspire us with your blessings. All that is not. The thus so, that which is gone beyond, is too inferior to hold your hand, to pat you on your back when you're upset, to be a friend in need, to have an adventure with you. And you need that. We all do. We need somebody we can talk to. So all that which is nameless, indescribable, unknowable, and utterly obvious has to be either placed in tantric symbolism or in the symbolism of a teacher. Do not confuse the teacher's personality with what the teacher symbolizes and attempt to copy the teacher's personality rather than look where they're pointing to try to copy the shape of their finger. This is important. Some people have teachers who are very strict monks and who follow the Vinaya point by point. And that's the teacher's outward personality. That works for them, that suits them. My teacher was like that. Me, never gonna happen. You give me a rule, I look for the way around, ever since childhood. I don't do it. So I didn't become a nun or copy his outward in any way. But I looked where he was pointing. You see that with the nun Pema Chudran and Trungpa Rinpoche. Being a nun, she couldn't copy his outward method of being. So there was nothing left to do but look where he was pointing. Remember that. Don't mimic your teacher. Look where they're pointing. Personality is just something that the Dharmakaya wears in order to be your friend. Don't take it as real, neither yours nor theirs. Guru Yoga, you see, is the basis of Mahamudra. It doesn't work without that. It doesn't work without a teacher to do the pointing. You'll never look there by yourself. Why would you? All the eons that you've existed, you've looked here and there. And when someplace isn't in a where, how do you look when there is no there? Wouldn't occur to you without a teacher to point. So whatever symbol you are using, Guru Rinpoche, the third Karmapa, primordial Buddhahood, the blue Buddha in Yabyum Kuntuzangmo, whatever symbol you are using as a teacher or a living person, but as a symbol, not their personality, not the fact that they pick their nose and scratch. That's the person part. Take that to heart. Do not misunderstand it that you have to fall in love, obey without question. That's not what it means. You have to pay attention. The only part you need to obey without question are the how to do, not the what to do, not which and what, not whether you should marry or not marry, not whether you should become a this or a that. But if you have chosen to do a practice, don't mess with the how to do it. That's what you must take and listen to completely. Dharma is not safe. No guide rails. Do it wrong, you can do yourself a mischief. Not wrong exactly. But if the instructions say on this go clockwise and you go counterclockwise, your results may vary. And some results can be uncomfortable. So work on your practice of Guru Yoga by whatever symbol works for you, whether it's a who or a what. Any questions on that? I got clear? Good. That doesn't mean if they tell you to jump off a roof, you should immediately do it. Who knows if that's what they actually meant or if they were speaking metaphorically? Ask more questions. Now that you have this unique opportunity, free and well-favored, use it to practice Dharma. It doesn't come around that often. It's kind of hard to get healthy, wealthy, and leisure all at once. You usually aren't wealthy until you're too old to be healthy. And leisure? How many of you have enough leisure? Hands? Who doesn't need more time? Good, you're a student, right? Who else doesn't need more time? Somebody retired? Yeah, a couple of old ones in the back have enough leisure. The rest of you, use what you do have. Make use of it. This may not come around again. And death happens. So the key to practicing whatever you choose to practice is to do it now. I have had a lot of practices that I have intended to do tomorrow. You know something? Tomorrow never comes. Something else happens tomorrow. I've been trying to bring out Vadra Dorji Pagmo as a yidam for some of the students. Every year I say, I'll do it in the spring, I'll do it in the fall. And something else occurs. We'll get to it. Really? How many of you have done that with your practice, your nundro, your whatever? Pick a practice that you can do now, not one that's hard and has to be built up to. Do you have the pebbles? Would you pick up the bowl of pebbles and take them around and have every person choose one without paying much attention to which one they choose, and give me one. There. I think we have enough pebbles for you all. Mahamudra method is based on Shine. You've got to find, not achieve, not develop the ability. You've got to find Shine. There's some things that make it easier than other things. The whole set of Mahamudra is based on starting with finding Shine. Dzogchen starts somewhere else, but they all go to the same place. There's a few tricks that make it easy. I see that most of you are having good posture. That's one of the tricks that makes it easy. Sitting with your channels in alignment. Whether you use the Japanese position, the full lotus, the half lotus, the Maitreya position on a chair, really doesn't much matter. The idea is that your posture needs to support your channels in such a way that they rest in alignment and flow smoothly without hurting. Do not force yourself to do a full lotus longer than you can. My teacher had a student who did that. He used to be able to sit when he was younger in a full lotus for a long time. So could I. And as he aged, it became more difficult. So he didn't really do it much. But then the teacher, after a few years, came to visit and gave a teaching at his place. So of course he would sit in a full lotus to show that he could still do it. And he ignored the pain, and he ended up having to have surgery on both his knees after. Rinpoche laughed so hard when he heard about that. Tibetan humor. If you are young, you can work up to spending the night in a gom tree in a full lotus. But if you're much past 30 or 40 and you aren't already pretty close to being able to do that, don't worry about it. With your channels in alignment, take your pebble. This is only one method. Look where your gaze, when it looks slightly downward, following the line of your nose, look where it lands. And put your pebble there. That may end up being on the back of the person in front of you. Wait till they hold still and then try it. When you rest your gaze on the pebble, It helps your eyeballs to hold still. Do not stare fixedly at the pebble. Your eyeballs will jerk around if you do that. Really, let your gaze go soft on the pebble. Not pristine and clear, soft. It's a resting place for your eyeballs. When the gaze is still, the attention slows down and becomes still as well. When the attention is still, the object of attention it reflects is stillness. So with your eyes resting on the pebble, disconnect your attention from your thoughts that run here and there. If you settle your chi in your channels by taking a deep in-breath through the nose and blowing it out very slowly through the mouth, it will make this easier, like this. Let the thoughts play like a child in the next room. They will happen. Don't follow them off. Return to the relaxed stillness. Nothing to worry about here. Pebble has no feelings. You won't offend it by doing it wrong. Pebble don't care. No judgment. Pebble don't judge. No worries. Nothing to worry about in a pebble. No plans. Pebble ain't going nowhere. No past. Pebble ain't been doing nothing. Just sitting there. Relax. Settle the chi again. Don't try to stop the thoughts. Don't pay them no never mind. Rest in the stillness, which is the very context in which thoughts dance. Great Mother Ocean Dharmakaya, ground of mind, infinite open awareness, no thing, nowhere. Relax. This is Shine, resting in stillness. After a long day of running about, is it not blissful to sit still for a bit? After a long day of thinking all manner of things, isn't it blissful to let go of the dance of thoughts? Leave it be where it is and rest in the stillness, which is the context of that. In Mahamudra, she, stillness, peace, nay, place of, seat of, she, nay, resting in stillness as stillness, in the place of stillness, which is not a place. This is the pointing out of Shine. No matter how much the dance of thoughts dance, it does not change or bother the stillness. Just as no matter how many birds fly in migration across the sky, it has no effect on space itself, the sky space. Birds leave no tracks. So do not try to force yourself to stop thinking. They'll push back. It'll just make them louder and faster if you try to squish them. Let go of the thoughts. Let them dance as they will. Let your attention settle in the pebble. Your eyes settle on the pebble. Your attention settle in what it symbolizes. Gone beyond of mind. Stillness. Dharmakaya nature of mind. Unborn, undying. It's always been there. It's where your thoughts be happening. It's where they arise. It's where they occur. It's where they vanish. Your feelings also. Your perceptions. All of this occurs in the stillness of the great Mother Ocean, Dharmakaya, the ground of mind, the open, naked awareness. All the moving occurs within that. There is no thing which moves. Do you see that? Notice it for your own. Now, the practice is very simple. You simply familiarize yourself with this again and again by sitting with your pebble for a little while, a couple of times a day, every day. 5 minutes in the beginning is fine. If you find you like it and you want to go longer, go ahead. We're all different. And How long we are comfortable relaxing in Shine in the beginning of the practice is going to vary. Make things easy for you by doing it in an uncomplicated place at first. Later, you'll be able to do it in Piccadilly Circus if you want, and it won't bother you one whit. But in the beginning, let's do it the easy way. So find a spot in your house that's quiet, that doesn't have too much artwork to obsess with. Maybe a candle to light your pebble if it's nighttime. And practice there. Are there questions on Shine? There should be by now. Oh, you're still at the shy point. You're not asking me questions yet. You'll get over that. Yes.
Can we just wait for the microphone so that the live stream picks up the voice?
Ah, yes, thank you.
You mentioned about when, your eyes resting on the pebble, but your attention is supposed to rest on what the pebble symbolizes. It's just wondering what
Stillness. Okay. So as you notice, you're thinking a question to me, you're thinking about what I'm saying. All of that is happening, and I'm gesturing and you're looking at me. Let's try this analogy first. We're moving, I'm moving my hands around, you're blinking your eyes, you're looking at me. This occurs in the space of this room. The space is not affected by our movement within it. So this is the analogy. The space is still, we move within it. So stillness is the context of thoughts. We think within it. Thoughts dance in stillness. In Dzogchen, we call it mind, real mind, semni. In Mahamudra, we simply call it stillness. Mahamudra uses a slightly simpler vocabulary. Other questions? Did I see anything over here? Yes.
I wonder, is it possible to do this practice focusing on a sensation in the heart instead of a stone?
No, because a sensation moves. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. You're not actually focusing on the stone. You're using it as an eye rest. Like if you go to a Japanese restaurant, you have these little chopstick rests that you rest the chopsticks on between eating. So this is your eye rest, your attention rest. It's just a helpful little tool. When you're done with it, put it back wherever pebbles come from. It's a pebble. Does that make sense? In Dzogchen, we don't use a pebble as the first focus. We simply focus, instead of focusing the eyes and resting them on pebble, we pick a point 2 meters in front of our nose in empty space, focus our eyes there, and then let go of the eye focus so that the lens is no longer point focused. It opens. Sometimes you see more brightness when that happens. It gets a little blurry. The way you know if you've got it is the peripheral vision and the central vision are the same. So we do that way in Dzogchen using this point instead of a pebble, which we use in Mahamudra. Either way, what is focused on, no, not focused on. You see, from beginningless time, every one of us, as well as all day today, has focused on this and that. First this, then that, then the other. It never stopped jumping from point to point, you know, ba-doing, 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 ba-doing. Wake up at 2 a.m. and it's still doing it. You know that one. So we're trying to break that habit of going from point to point by releasing the point focus. We use point focus on a pebble to help it hold still before we release it, so that it at least stops bedoinging. Or we take this point in space. But both ways, remember, soften your gaze. In Mahamudra, you say soften your gaze. In Dzogchen, you say relax your eyeballs. Same difference. The vocabulary is a little different. But what you're doing is, you see, your attention follows your eyes. So if you look over here, you're going to pay attention to what's over here. And if you look over here, you now pay attention to what's over here. You can't look somewhere and not pay attention to what's there. Your attention follows your eyes. It's a Homo sapien thing. As such, when you open the focus of the eyes, it's no longer point focus. It encourages your attention to release that point focus that you have jumped from thought to thought, thing to thing, all day, into a sort of a open awareness. It's not fuzzy. It's very relaxed. There's a clarity to it. Often, when you do this with your eyeballs, your eyes will dilate slightly, so people see like white light. That's just an effect of your eyes dilating slightly. That's nothing. It's an experience. It's one of those, yeah, it probably means you're doing it right with your eyes. They do tend to do that after a while. But no, that's not anything profound. That's eyeball stuff. That's not clear light. That's your eyeballs your pupils dilating. However, when we say this infinite emptiness, this vastness, how to say, this openness, this non-point focus is not a big dead old nothing. A lot of people get that confusion because they didn't grow up with symbols of its vitality from childhood. So it gets missed. That stillness is alive, vital. We say luminously lucid. That doesn't mean it glows. That means we're taking light as the symbol of the vitality of mind, the vitality of universal consciousness, the vitality of the Dharmakaya, of Semni. The word Rigpa in Tibetan is literally seer. You want to find your Rigpa? It's what's looking out from behind your own eyes, always has been. It's right there. Now, when it sees itself, that's open awareness, open Rigpa. Questions so far on Shine? Yes.
So I'd like to ask, what is the end goal of the practice? Let's say a person became very good at that practice and can be aware, can have this pure awareness even in circles, like you said. So what did change for the person? And
if I understand your question correctly, nothing changes. It always was. The person's knowing of this. Okay, look, you're not a person, you're a clump. Okay, you're not an entity. We all know this. You've got a biome, you're a lot of pile of clump of entities making up what feels like a person, only it's interactive and interpenetrating. It's a clump of stuff. Thoughts, feelings, perceptions, all of which are moving, changing, maturing, growing. Life grows until it dies. When you spend time in the experience, which comes and goes, of perceiving the stillness and the moving as one in dancing stillness, which is called direct seeing, Laktong, the stage after Shine. You become what you experience. How'd you get to be who you are today? The personality, the person. You had a bunch of experiences. You've had lovers, friends, pets, books, movies, TV shows, and they've influenced you. They've changed you. You're not who you were at 13. You have been changed by your experiences. So as your experience becomes one of recognizing the dance of stillness as it is, you reflect your experiences, so you begin to change to reflect that. So that the dance of stillness and the person reflecting the dance of stillness are not that different after a while, because the experience changes you. When you then turn around and find the experiencer at that point, Rongrik is the name of the practice. You recognize the clumpishness of all of it. At that point, mother and child luminosity unite. The path is taught by the teacher that you've been walking on, and the always was and will be unborn, undying are seen to be the same thing. They are no longer appear separate. So the dance of the vitality as thoughts, feelings, and perceptions is the stillness. And the awareness is aware of that they are that. The awareness is aware of itself being that. Nothing changes. Everything changes. Did I understand your question correctly? But don't stop practicing. There's a trap here. There's an oopsie. You'll do yourself a mischief. It's really like that at some point. And they say, oh, I got it now. I can stop practicing. Oops, don't do that. If there's even a hair of I to get it, even a hair of it, it wears off. It's not the real one. It's a nyam. Don't trust them damn nyams, okay? Keep practicing even whether you need it or not. Then you practice for the sake of others. Without bodhicitta, this path won't work. You won't keep going far enough. Your own motivation to escape from suffering ends. But if you don't keep going, it wears off. You end up in a God realm. It is so easy to miss the way out and mistake the way up for it. without bodhicitta, so that you keep going for the sake of others, having nothing to gain or nothing to lose yourself. Nonetheless, you continue on the path. Without that, it won't go all the way. Okay? So be warned. How do I know about this? Oops. Another occasion when my teacher fell off his throne laughing. You see, I was a very bad student. The reason why I know where all the holes are is because I've fallen in almost every one of them. It doesn't have to take you 50 years. I'm just a little slow. Other questions? The Dharma is vast and it has many forms. But the teachings that bring Buddhahood in a single lifetime are the two ultimate systems of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. The Mahamudra of bliss and emptiness on the path of means. Mahamudra exists within the time-space continuum. You have to walk over to the door and turn the knob and open it. All of that is doing K-Rim. Mahamudra contains both K-Rim and Dzogrim. Dzogchen sometimes tries to drop kick you into the middle, which for many people is simply confusing. I mean, yes, you either learn to swim or you sink, but it doesn't work for everybody. It's not better than Mahamudra. Stop thinking Dzogchen is the highest and Mahamudra is second. They're the same thing with different methods of entry. The actual practice of secret mantra is the silence of the stillness. In this way, it is Tantra, because it is spoken of in symbols such as sky, space. In this way, it is Tantra, which works with symbols. So it is the highest of the Tantras. It is the secret mantra, which has no sound. To rest in stillness without rejecting the moving. Once you find it easy to rest in stillness, and you probably really like it because it's awfully relaxing after the rest of your life, which is all about fretting about stuff, right? You spend your days fretting about stuff, fretting about work, fretting about your family, fretting about the bills. And here there's no frets. Once it's easy and you're good at it, once it sometimes for you lasts quite a long time of relaxation, then it's time to become very clear, not by thinking about it, but by noticing what moves and what does not. Can you all name something that moves? Come on. This is supposed to be participatory. Wake up. Thoughts move. Water moves. Dogs move. Name something else that moves. Anything. Hands move. Pain moves. Where does it go and come from? The clouds do move. The atmosphere in Western ideas of sky being within the atmosphere moves. It's attached to a ball of mud that goes around the planet, that goes around the sun. However, the Tibetan word sky, space, does not refer to atmosphere. So their concept of sky is the infinite space that occurs from the ground or the surface of the water to endless. That they call Nauka, which can be translated as sky or space, like Naunki Norbu. Norbu Rinpoche, that was his first name, sky. Sky jewel, Naunki Norbu, or Naunka Norbu. Precious from the sky. The Mahamudra of the innate path of liberation is an easier practice offering great reward at little risk, and is of benefit to all regardless of capacity. You don't have to be smart to do this. Yes, some of you are. Most of you are probably overeducated. You don't even have to be literate. A lot of my friends who are really good meditators are completely illiterate. Tibetans, old cow herders. It doesn't matter. You simply have to decide you want to relax, that you're tired of flea brain and having to pay attention to everything it says. You want to try a preliminary tonight? When you go home, go in a room by yourself and softly but out loud say everything you think for 20 minutes. And you realize you've been listening to this for years, like a nattering radio show in the background. Very annoying. Hence the joy of Shine. It's very important to be very clear in and of yourself what it is that moves and what it is that does not. If you confuse them, you will find yourself trying to stabilize an experience, trying to keep a perception of stillness or a feeling of stillness or the idea of stillness, the thought of stillness. And you can't. They're moving. You can't keep them. Trickle through your fingers like sand. And this is a Dzogchen mistake that all the Dzogchenpas make. They keep trying to stabilize their trekja. But it's moving. Now, how can you tell something is moving as far as an experience or in meditation? It had a beginning. If your realization had a beginning, it's moving. It's an experience. Someday, it will wear off. Or you'll die and land in the God realm because it was an experience, so it's within the wheel. Do spend the time while resting in Shine, both by thinking about it off the cushion. Yes, you're on the bus, you got to think about something rather than fret. Think about this, what moves and what doesn't. On the cushion, notice what's all the moving, swirly stuff. What is included in that and what is not? This is extremely important, lest you find yourself attempting to stabilize the moving, and you can't. So all the realizations you have acquired from your meditation that occurred at a moment in time, that were not there before and are now there, It came. It will go. Do not cling to those. These we call in Dzogchen nyams, meditative experiences. Don't try to get rid of them. Don't try to throw them away. But do not cling to them either. Allow them to dance as you do other movings, such as thoughts and feelings, and a perception which is simply a clump of sensations described by thoughts, told a story about by thoughts, and then feelings about what the thought said it was. All of this, be sure what moves and what doesn't. That is your next step. Any questions on what moves, on moving, on stillness? Clear? I don't know if you guys are polite or asleep. Anything coming out of the audience on the online, or is anybody checking for them? Yes.
So often we're told to rest on the breath, but the breath moves.
Yes,
So-
it does, and that is not this method.
Right.
In the Vipassana schools, the southern schools, they use breath. I'm sure they must have a way of getting it to work, but I don't know that way. Also, when you're done with the pebble, you can remove it. When you're done with your breath, you can't. So the pebble is a tool that you can put down again. I don't know how to do that with breath. So I just, in the way I've been taught, both Mahamudra and Mahāti, we do not use breath. It has issues. Partly it's moving for Mahamudra, and you can't put it down for Mahāti. So someone who teaches that method, you'll have to question about it. Not when I practiced. Other questions? So once you're sure that the moving will continue to move, and that everything moves, both inner and outer moves, the chi moves, the elements move and interact. The stillness has never moved. You're not making it there. You're not putting it there. Your noticing of it moves. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It itself does not move. Be clear that noticing moves. Attention moves. Paying attention moves. But the stillness has never moved. At this point, the next practice is called Ultra Naljur in Mahamudra, yoga of dancing stillness. This is where you see what the moving is made of. And you find it is not made of anything. You try to see what moves, where it comes from, where it goes. It comes from nowhere. It arises there within the stillness. It dissolves there within the stillness. And that which moves has neither substance nor duration. Your hand is made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. These are made of quarks and gluons and a few other quantum bits that I can't remember the name of, which themselves are made of smaller bits until you find no thingness in there. In form, in matter, space. Oh, you can get at it through quantum mechanics if you want to play with your intellect. But that simply gives you an understanding. So does Ochen, Madhyamika. Very good way to get an understanding. If you happen to really enjoy understanding things. Is Nigel in here? Yeah. You like understanding things. Madhyamika, quantum mechanics. Goes to the same place. The importance is to see beyond a shadow of a doubt so that you're absolutely sure what the moving is made of. What is its relationship to the stillness? What is the stillness relationship to the moving? Does the moving move the stillness? Am I moving the space in the room? Microphone.
You say all this, like the example of the hands, there's all the molecules and all the things, but they're connected together.
No.
Is there?
No, they are not. They're buzzing around each other. But they're not connected by anything. No string.
Will there be a time that we are able to see that they're not connected?
You can't?
Not yet.
Ah. No trails? You didn't take enough acid in your youth. Form, matter. If examined through quantum mechanics, which they probably have in your language, just for ease of reading, I'll read a few articles about it, some summaries. Even if you just Google it in Dutch and read it. I think you're going to find that interesting. Quantum mechanics says the same thing as Mahāati and Mahamudra, except in a different language. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Heart Sutra, the beginning of all of it.
I don't know if this makes sense, but if you're not holding on to anything, how do you practice in daily life? Like if you're not holding on to the experience of meditation and you want to have a different experience of everyday life, even when you're just, talking to people and have to deal with people. Or...
You don't hold on to your experiences.
Okay.
Nonetheless, change will happen. And as you practice and experiences occur, they will change you. Just as all the lovers you've ever had have changed you. All the friends you've ever had have changed you in response to the interaction.
I don't know. That's why I don't know how to articulate it, but if you want to not just drop into everyday life without, just going back into your normal state of mind. I'm having trouble negotiating. So what is it? You do have to hold on to something or try to, I don't know.
No, there's a trick in Dzogchen that you might enjoy. It's not a method used here in Mahamudra, but it's right around once you've seen the relationship of the moving to the stillness and seen that they are actually the same thing. That's Lactong. So Dzogchen drop kicks you in right there with no preliminary to get you there through pebbles and separating and all, which is why they all get stuck for years trying to stabilize something, because they didn't do that. We give that to them much later in a retreat, 3-week retreat, called outer body Rushen, Rushen separating. And speech, there's a number of Rushens. So in Dzogchen, we have a method called quick glances. You check and see if the stillness moved. Quickly, with a glance, but you don't stay on it. You don't try to maintain it. You don't hold on to it. You just do it really, really often. And that, after a while, allows you to develop a certainty which permeates your personality. Because, of course, you change by your experiences. So that in day-to-day life, you still have moving. You have feelings. They don't go away. You can be grouchy, bored, tired, any of these things. But they aren't real. It's like the basic Dzogchen adage, don't believe everything you think. It's just as dumb as the shit you read on the internet. Which is why I suggest you go tonight and try that practice for 20 minutes. Or randomly read a few strange things on the internet that you don't normally have in your algorithms that try to show you things that agree with you. It's just stuff. Moving. Not made of anything. Not going anywhere. Not coming from anywhere. It is the nature of the vitality. To create. The moving is the creation of the vitality of the stillness. Another way to say that is Dharmakaya, the infinite openness, vast expanse of Dharmakaya nature of mind, is permeated by the clear light of the Sambhogakaya, where all the gods are born. This manifests as the phenomenon of the Nirmanakaya. Did that make any clarity? So you might want to try that Dzogchen practice as a daily. It's not so much in Mahamudra. In Mahamudra, it will be assumed that that will happen automatically. So it's not an instruction. That you will automatically live in a state of noticement and come to live in a state of noticement and certainty of the nature of all thoughts while you think them, not by thinking of their nature after you think them. In the beginning, we go, yeah, all thoughts are not real. We know this. Don't listen to your thoughts. So you think a thought and then you say, don't listen to a thought. So you put another thought that says, don't listen to the thoughts on it. And then you cover that with another thought that says, this is not real either. And you can really get going. That won't work. In Mahamudra, by truly sitting a lot, you sit on the cushion a lot more in Mahamudra than in Dzogchen. In Dzogchen, you do a lot of that, meditating while going about. Suitable to people with kids and, works and things. But you do put more time on the cushion in Mahamudra. And as such, even when you're going about, you keep noticing what moves and what does not, which is similar to checking out and seeing if the stillness is still there. Only we say it in Mahamudra, keep noticing what moves and what doesn't as you go through life. It's the same practice, phrased very differently. Any questions on that? That's a sticky point for some people. That difference between the way it's said in Mahamudra and Mahāti. There's advantages to both ways. I got to take a break from talking for a minute and drink some water. Your turn.
Yeah, how it's possible for person which is moving to recognize stillness? How something what moves is able to recognize stillness?
If I understand you correctly, you are asking me how a moving personality can recognize stillness. You are more than a moving personality. You have Buddha nature inherent to you. If you did not, neither Mahamudra nor Mahāti would work. They would be useless. But because you already, and from beginningless time, as do all sentient beings, all life forms, have Buddha nature within them. And it's the same Buddha nature. Therefore, you are not only a moving, dancing personality. That's just who you think you are with your moving, dancing thoughts. You are also the ground of mind. It's your mind. Infinite open awareness, it's your awareness. Awareness, Rigpa, is that which looks out from behind your own eyes. When you die, it will look out from behind other eyes. Eyes in the bardo, eyes in your next life. When you're a spider, it will look out from a lot of eyes. How many do spiders have? 6? 8? Oh, and was it clams? Bivalves have like a whole lot. They're full of eyes. So even those little planaria, you know, the flatworms that you play with in high school biology, have eye spots. They are sensitive to light. Most beings that are close to the evolution of Homo sapiens have eyes. And other things that aren't would use a different symbolism, should they happen to have Dharma on some other planet that is too dark to have light. There'd be other sense organs in other ways. It's a big universe out there. There's a lot of stuff in it. Do you know how many galaxies there are in the local group? Big. The Tibetan description of the universe is just as big, just described very differently. They've got it stacked because the hardest thing to get a Tibetan to let go of, as far as belief systems go, is up and down. There's a place in Flight of the Garuda, a chapter that explains how up and down is not real. It's Dzogchen text. And the Tibetans are just like, this chapter's too hard. Just skip over it. Rinpoche was like, I'm not even going to teach them this chapter. It's too hard. Nobody will get it. And I'm like, Rinpoche, Australia. It is upside. It says cities are upside down. Well, yeah, Australia. It's upside down. What's the point? It's like culturally. So their universe has a real up and down, their mythology, and ours does not. And what are we missing that's obvious to them? The vitality of space, the aliveness of the sky. We all miss it. The number of people who think the stillness is a big, dark, old nothing. Black, empty, vacuum. Nuh-uh. It's alive. Feel your alive. It's your aliveness, that very aliveness, you know, that's always there. It doesn't come and go. Sambhogakaya nature of mind, your Buddha nature. Infinite, vast, and open. Dancing with thoughts and feelings. Aliveness. You bring the Dharmakaya and Nirmanakaya together in the Sambhogakaya, which is you. Simple instruction. Now, if you stand in these practices and identify as your personality only, it will be very difficult. You do have to accept and recognize that you have Buddha nature inherent to you. Basic premise. Otherwise, how could enlightenment be possible? If it weren't already here, it would be a come and go. There would be no real enlightenment, only experiences and dances of it. But it's already here and always has been. Just as form is emptiness, thoughts are stillness. Other questions?
I'm a little bit confused because I feel I'm at ease with the practice of looking at the thoughts, looking at the feeling, like where they come from, and this one I grasp at it, but I still don't understand how eventually this practice can end up in non-duality. Like I still feel that there is one self looking at the object, so I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the feeling, but there's still a self looking at it. So it's still in duality.
Why are you looking at your thoughts and your feelings?
So I'm looking at them to not feel them part of me.
No.
To separate between
Why
me
do you
and
want to separate from your thoughts and feelings?
Because they're crazy. So
well, so are mine. Let me suggest, instead of trying to separate from them, which will never work because they're going to come right back, you find the stillness in which they arise and vanish. And you learn to rest in that stillness without needing to separate from anything. The method of attempting to shove something away makes it push towards you. You ever do Tai Chi? Push hands? Yeah, you push. So instead of trying to shove away your uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, find out what they're made of by watching or finding first the stillness. Use a pebble, it's a nice tool. Or use the Dzogchen point here. Find the stillness in which the thoughts dance. In Dzogchen, we say, your thoughts occur in your mind. Yeah? Your feelings occur in your mind. So find the mind, not what's flopping about in it, but the vastness of mind itself. Let your attention rest there, letting the floppers flip-flop however they want. Does that make sense? But don't reject. Don't try to get rid of them. Don't try to force them away. First, that won't work. And second, if you were to succeed, you would be destroying your Sambhogakaya aspect. You don't want to do that. Your own vitality. You'd end up depressed and bored instead of crazy, but it's not an advantage. It might as well be crazy. It's more fun. I speak from experience. So try to shift your practice that way rather than shoving. Do you understand those instructions? Other question?
So a few years ago, you did a teaching on Dang, Rolpa, Tsal.
On
Dang, Rolpa, and Tsal energies. And in that you were talking about this, first of all, the space, and then this sense of aliveness or sparkliness that permeates that. And then the specificity of the manifestations.
That's what I'm talking about right now.
That's what I was just going to ask, what the connection or difference is between what we did there and what we're doing here.
None. I say I've only one thing I ever say to you, one thing I say to you guys in every teaching. I just find different words because otherwise you won't listen. But it's all the same thing. And it doesn't fit in any words. So whichever ones I use and whichever text I base it on, it's all pointing at the same not place. And that not place is not new. And you don't have to achieve it. It is inherent in you, your own innate Buddha nature. But because of your obsessive compulsive habits of focusing your attention on everything but that, of chasing your desires and running away from your fears for infinite amounts of time, you fail to notice and so bring suffering on yourself. Any other question? No, I think this is where I'm going to end that for tonight and do an offering to the land spirits before we close. In Mahamudra, it's the practice, not the words. So would you all do a little homework? Sit and relax in stillness. With a pebble or without a pebble. Everybody who wants a pebble, get a pebble. Okay, some of you will find the pebble really helpful. Some of you won't. Personal choice. It's a tool. Now, I'm going to need 2 volunteers. I hope, if possible, 2 people from this center. Do we have anybody who's a local Shambhala? 1 here and 1 here. If you 2 would be the ones to take the spirit offerings out. I'll tell you when the time comes. I'll signal to you really strongly. and toss them out to your local spirits, land spirits. We've got two, so you've probably got two different directions where there's some nature, a little garden or something. So you can do that. Remember to hang on to the dishes. Don't toss the dishes, toss the contents up into the air like that. Don't toss the cup either. Hang on. Saffron water, right? Let me put a little magic in there. Magic is always good. Got some mani pills from the Dalai Lama. And you always got to grind this stuff up because otherwise it clogs your bumper. You don't want to clog in your bumper. They're very annoying. Yeah, there we go. Om Bharavane Sute Rinpoche. Om Bharavane Sute Rinpoche. Om Bharavane Sute Rinpoche. Jamne Kunto Sumla Rupa Babu. Om Bharavane Sute Rinpoche. Om Bharavane Sute Rinpoche. Om Bharavane Would someone in the back get the doors for them? Or whoever did. Thank you. You guys. They took that. They must be feeding them regularly or somehow. What's going to, again, this is a weekend retreat, is the practice of it. So, do you understand how to find the stillness so that you can go home and practice that? Head bobbles at least. If finding the stillness, if shine, resting in stillness, is something you've already been doing for a while, then off the cushion, walk around with your attention separating the stillness from the moving. You do it with thoughts. Like it's a noticing what moves and what doesn't. As you go about thinking, feeling, and perceiving. Remember, a perception is simply a clump of sensations, thoughts, and feelings. Karmically arises a sensation in one of your 6 senses. You then think about that, name it, and tell yourself a story about why it's there. Then you become either pleased or displeased by the kind of story you made up. And that creates a perception. If you find it hard to take your attention off your thoughts a bit, to relax your attention from the point focused on thoughts because they seem interesting to you, some people will have that. Then do that 20-minute Rushen, that 20-minute preliminary of saying everything you think out loud for 20 minutes. Not everyone needs to do that, but it would behove some of you to just see how dumb they all are. Especially those of you who really like your thoughts and like indulging in them. Any questions on this homework? You should have some time this evening and tomorrow morning. What we will be doing tomorrow is working with Laktong, moving towards Rochik. For that, you'll at least need the basis of a day's experience to follow me. So do take a little time to practice. Anything, questions? Then we are good. Remember, we're all in this together. Us and the bugs and birds and fishes. And no separation. We're all in this together. We all have nature. And we all suffer samsara. There's no point in being a crab pot. Do you ever catch crabs in England and eat them? So you know that if you have a bucket and you put the crabs in, they won't be able to get out because every time one climbs up to the edge, the others pull them down trying to climb on them. Yeah, no point in being a crab pot. We are all in this together.
So thank you very much, Lama Lena. If anybody is not coming back for any other teachings and would like to make an offering of a kata or donation to Lama Lena, feel free to come up now. But if you're staying for the rest of the weekend, that can happen at another point. And there's also, just to let you know, there's some bowls at the back for some donations towards some nuns in Spiti or towards Lama Lena's travel costs as well. Thank you. And also just to say that if you are coming back tomorrow, the teaching starts at 11 tomorrow, and could you perhaps arrive around 10:30? Okay, thanks.
Hey, thank you all. Oh, who's not staying? Anybody? One person. Oh, thank you. Oh, not silly. Hey, you. Come here. Give us that. Jay. Where's my head? Have you seen my head? I'll see you all tomorrow. Did I come in? Did I come in this way? This way? Oh, there's it. Thank you.